This episode is about minutes 81 through 85 of The Empire Strikes Back with returning guest Alex Ludwig. Hello there, and welcome to Star Wars Music Minute, where we celebrate the music and sound of Star Wars 5 cinematic minutes at a time. I'm Chrysanthi Tan, feel free to call me Xanthi, and today is all about minutes 81 through 85 of The Empire Strikes Back, which starts with Lando greeting Han, Leia, and, the whole gang. Actually, I'm going to call out 3PO by name. 3PO. Not just going to leave 3PO and Chewie out. And ends with Luke leaving Dagobah, or getting ready to leave Dagobah, because he wants to join his friends, much to Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi's chagrin. We have a lot of great music in this set of minutes, and I'm really excited to have back for the third time Alex Ludwig, also known as the Irae guru. Hello, Alex.
Hello, hello. Do we get jackets or something for the third time? What's SNL? They get jackets on the fifth time, I think, right?
Do they really?
I think once you host 5 times on SNL, you get a jacket. So something to look forward to.
Okay, for your 5th. Okay. We don't have Iraes in this, but I will be running one by you from a previous set of minutes, just so you know. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that at the end. But what do you think about this? What do you think about this part of the film, or this set of minutes in particular? What stands out to you?
It's an interesting set of 5, just because the first 90 seconds are silent. So when I got my assignment, I was sitting there going, "Oh wow, what are we going to talk about?" But there's stuff to talk about, certainly.
Oh yeah.
Right. And the pieces are interesting as well. The Lando's theme, and then obviously all the stuff on Dagobah. There's a lot to dig into. So there's always something to dig into in these. So very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. I agree that this set of, the music in this, I think the music, on all of Cloud City, is just it's very different. It's very different from the rest of the movie. And it is it's a very specific mood. This isn't just I don't know, it's super regal and super, it sets quite a stage for this palace that we're at.
Yeah. I have regal in my notes highlighted and underlined, and it's interesting, and I would love to dig into what makes it musically sound regal, right? But at the same time, there's something about it that rings a little hollow to me. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder, is that because of what's going to happen with Lando coming up after these 5 minutes? Is John Williams sort of implying something here, or am I reading too much into it? So
no, I feel the same way. It feels uncharacteristically regal, because we've met princesses, we've met emperors, we've met people who might get a regal theme before, but it's Lando, a businessman who's running this clouds, everything. Cloud City, everything looks pristine. We see all these white interiors, it's like a minimalist heaven or something. But obviously something very dark is bringing to the surface, and it almost feels like the Cloud City music, or the palace music, is an overt facade. That's how I read it. Is
absolutely, it's all the pomp without the circumstance. There's
exactly.
It looks pretty on the surface, but it's just a facade, because all of it's going to collapse by the end of not our 5 minutes, but in the next couple scenes. So
it's almost too good. It's too good to be true. Mm-hmm. It's
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I totally.
And there's some musical hints to that, I think, as well. So yeah, definitely stuff we can dig into.
Cool. Well, let's start listening to the minutes, because while they're not, we won't, we'll skip most of it, but there is some very particular, in the absence of music, we are hearing the sounds of the palace. There's this really awkward, air squirt that keeps happening. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you described it as awkward, and I get that. But is there anything cooler than how people walk off a ship in Star Wars? With the jets. I don't know, the exhaust. I don't know what you call it. But they are almost always, flanked on either side. They're coming down, and there's always that, that
No,
mist.
You're so right. You're so right.
And you think of all these sort of iconic, I think of the villains, Palpatine or Vader or Kylo Ren, right? And so we get some of that here over sort of Carrie Fisher's shoulder. We've got this sort of exhaust, and it is a little random
It's
on
funny.
The landing pad here.
It's funny because this is like the third episode I've recorded in a row where we've ended up talking about like completely off topic, but like talking about like the landing of ships and just like the taking off of ships and just like the fanfare that surrounds them, both like musically sometimes and also just like, it's quite a thing. It really is.
Well, I mean, the boundary between sound effects and music is very thin.
For sure.
And so I feel like these opening, the opening silent 90 seconds here, there's some musical touches that are not quite music. So
yeah, no, I agree with that. So let's get to listening.
Yeah.
What would you like?
Well, they did let us land.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
It's like already all of that ambient noise is telling us that like there's all these ships flying around.
Yeah, and even the ships are musical. It's not a steady. It's So there is even that sort of your ears sort of picked up on it.
Yeah, and I don't know if this technique was specifically used for these ships, but Ben Burtt has specifically said that for the snow speeders earlier in the film, which have kind of a like kind of a musical sound to them too. Like he ran the sounds through a harmonizer, like one of the first harmonizers, like effects pedals or whatever they had at the time, which literally like, that's what makes it sound like, there's a tone to it.
See? My friend.
Yep, there it is.
Keep your eyes open, huh?
And I'm hearing them panned like in the right, above me.
Right.
Are you slimy, double-crossing, no-good swindler?
You got a lot of guts coming here. After what you pulled.
It's like the greeting that they have is like, they haven't even left the tarmac, but they're having their reunion right here.
Yeah.
Kind of yelling.
And I just realized that my last appearance on the pod was for a double cross in Solo. So I'm now the two double crosses in a row, I guess.
Totally.
So
actually, you have two like really weird parallels in this scene with the last time you came on. So yeah, this is one
bizarre.
Of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other one being that the first time you came on the show, we were talking about the moment when Luke discovers his aunt and uncle's burning bodies, and where he basically answers the call to begin his journey.
Yeah.
And here, later on in these minutes, is where he like answers a different call to like move on to a different.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Lando.
How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you.
Well, he seems very friendly.
Yes. Very friendly.
He's always so.
Yeah.
It's like you.
It's too
you
much.
You never know.
Right?
Well, it's like, are we good or
yeah,
are we not?
And rewatching this movie, the best homework in the world is, go watch Empire Strikes Back. Sure, great. Watching it, I noticed that Leia really, she comes off really well. She knows that Lando is not 100%. With the Minox, in the back, the way she says Minox, like she knows Minox aren't supposed to be in this place. We're not supposed to be, like she's always sort of one step ahead, but for whatever reason, Han sort of plows through. So I think, Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia really comes off well here, because even now she knows.
That's true. And she is very, she's about to say, yes, very friendly.
Which she knows,
Yeah, she definitely knows, for sure.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Repairs. I thought you could help me out. What have you done to my ship? Your ship?
So this part's interesting.
Remember, you lost her to me fair and square.
After watching Solo, a Star Wars story.
You still hanging around?
Nothing
this
was fair and
loser?
square.
Yeah, and he doesn't acknowledge what Han says.
Right.
Han's
Sort
like,
of moves right past it.
yeah, he moves right past. He doesn't confirm or deny
Yep.
that he lost the ship fair and square. Yeah, just moves right on. Yeah.
Hello, what have we here? Welcome, I'm Lando Calrissian. I'm the administrator of this facility. And who might you be?
Leia.
Welcome, Leia. All right. You old smoothie.
Hello, sir. I am C.
That's a good place for the music to enter.
It really is. And there's that exhaust, and there's a ship, and then there's this clarinet glissando. So, there are all the effects are coming in to mark that line. And I mean, it's a great line too, between Lando and then Han, you old smoothie. It's really fantastic way to sort of get us into the next sequence.
Yeah. It's a very smooth, like smoothie
So to
kind
speak.
of, it's like a very smooth line. Let's listen to the beginning of that. This is the beginning of Q8M3, Lando's Palace, by the way.
Oh, before you even play that,
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you, does this clarinet opening glissandi, what comes to mind when you think of this? Do you get Rhapsody in Blue?
Oh, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Although
A little bit.
a little tiny bit, just without the bend.
Yeah. Right. So there's also the opening to the opera Salome, Strauss's opera Salome.
Okay.
Also opens with a big upward rising clarinet glissando, all solo, right? It's first notes you hear in the opera. And so this
That's
rising
interesting.
sort of, it is really sort of fascinating, this connection. You wonder how explicit it is.
I feel like the Salome in
because-
particular, I hear in Cloud City.
Yeah. Yeah. And this solo clarinet is not exactly a timbre that I really think about in Star Wars. So again, giving us some really eclectic sounds here right at the beginning.
Yeah,
So
the
keep that in
clarinet.
your, let's,
Will do. The clarinet is
Yeah.
such a is a very unique, like it's unique to me amongst the Woodwind family because I think of it as having the most straight tone. Like you can do vibrato on a clarinet, but it's not like I feel like you don't hear it as persistently as like you do when flutes are playing or oboe or something.
yeah, it's used for that flatness. That's
Yeah.
really what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, or like this, or the sort of pureness, which, like the pureness in tone, like if we're thinking of like a pure tone as like a sine wave or something like that, which also really works for this part of this movie, or kind of blurs the line between the synthesizer that they actually do use, and these clarinets. Where, I didn't even really pick up on the synthesizer use in this movie until recently, because I heard that something sounded kind of synth-like, but to me, I was just like, oh, that's just woodwinds playing in a flat tone that they can do, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You be.
Leia.
Welcome, Leia. All right. You old smoothie.
Hello, sir. I am C-3PO Human Cyborg Relations. My facilities are at
And the harp also does like a pass up, and then the flutes take it next.
And is there's it's so light, it's so airy, it's upward, right? We're sort of expanding up, which is appropriate for where we are standing up in the clouds. So
Yeah. Cloud City always like kind of freaked me out a little bit because it feels so ungrounded, like it literally is.
yeah, those big the external shots, when you're really flying in and seeing it just sort of floating there, it is eye-opening, certainly.
Yeah. It kind of it's kind of fitting that Lando ended up here. I don't know, it just feels like it works that it's not like a grounded place, because I feel like Lando kind of wants to be a little bit freer and, outside of control of whatever. Yeah. So that opening leads right into.
Brilliant.
What's wrong with the Falcon?
Hyperdrive.
I'll get my people to work on it.
Good.
You know, that ship saved my life quite a few times. She's the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
How's the gas mileage?
I'm going to play that from the actual
yeah.
part on the soundtrack so we can hear it more clearly. Here we go. It's like aggressively beautiful.
And then sort of cycles through again. So can we stop there?
Yes.
Yeah. So my first big point thinking about this cue is that it's all a big pedal tone. It's almost all sort of stable, right? There's nothing, no progressions involved here. That E is there that whole time, practically, right? And both this cue and once we get to Dagobah, there are a lot of pedals.
So many pedals,
right?
Totally.
Like, so I don't understand. Is that on purpose? Is that saying something? I don't quite know yet. Here, it makes it feel sort of false to me.
Oh,
right?
really?
It does, yeah. That we've got all this stuff at the top, the sort of march like regal stuff, but down below something's holding us back, right? We're not going anywhere. This is it. This is our pedal tone.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I feel that way. I feel like the pedal tones in this part and in the Dagobah part that we'll get to later have a different. They conjure something different
Function.
for me.
Yeah.
Different function for me.
Okay.
Here, I feel like the pedal tone is very in line with just the type of idiom that John Williams is drawing from in this cue, like in this passage.
The regal march kind of.
Yeah, because if I think of like Elgar and just composers like that, which we've talked about a lot on this podcast because there are many moments where John Williams draws from Elgar, Walton. It does feel kind of in line with that, but I guess if I tried to divorce it from it's just part of the idiom, I think it feels not slow. It feels, we'll put it this way. When I listen to this music, I am imagining people dressed in really heavy robes and regalia, walking very slowly and
luxurious.
Yeah, to like a very fancy dinner or a ball or something, or like a coronation. And so I'm imagining like how carefully they're walking because of their outfits, and just like and it's sort of like you don't want to like move too much. You just want to move just as much as you need to. You're going to keep things kind of conserved, and the pedal tone is reminiscent of like the conservation of energy and not doing too much that you would if you were, although it's funny because the music that I'm hearing and the image that it conjures is not really what's happening. I mean, Lando, I think in Lando's mind, maybe that's what's happening. Like you're looking at my palace, but really they're just like, they're kind of rough. They're out of this. They've been on some space adventures. Yeah. They're just like, we're just trying to escape.
They just left the slug,
Yeah, they're not going to a fancy dinner. Although, again, like they will go to a dinner, though.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, it just pomp and no circumstance, truly.
Yeah.
Or like the wrong circumstance. Yeah. Should I keep playing from here?
Yeah. So, well, just to sort of point out that we've had that sort of phrase and then repeated, and now we've got something a little bit differently. So it's almost an AABA sort of structure, which is sort of interesting as well. Very old fashioned sort of style. But it's not 4 + 4 + 4 + 4 either. It's not This isn't a very sort of classical structure. It's unbalanced as well. So again, is this a sort of hint as to something that's unusual underneath?
Okay, well, actually, let's go back so we can start counting that. Also, I want to point out the instrumentation. Okay, I'll go back a little bit more. And so when they first play the theme, which is in Frank Lehman's catalog, it is the Lando's Palace theme. It is specifically, it's Cloud City 1, parentheses, Lando's Palace, because there's a Cloud City 2 theme, which is the more like dangerous theme. But at first, the French horns, I'm sure, are pretty prominent in that. And then it's also doubled in the violins. So it's kind of like a French horn
but pretty
violin
low
blend.
violins, when you say.
Yeah. It's like, well, the firsts are going.
Yeah.
And then the seconds are going like they're kind of in fourths and fifths and stuff. So yeah, they're kind of. Yeah, they're on the D and G string, basically.
And in terms of the sort of spacing, we just had those clarinets and the flutes, big opening, and then we drop down to then build up again, right? The violins start sort of medium range, and then they can sort of soar up again. So it's interesting what Williams is doing here in terms of register. I don't know how much of that is Williams or if that's an orchestrator.
I feel like it, like I'm thinking of all the times that I've played like an Elgar, an Elgar march or something, and I think of how often even like a Sousa march, just any sort of piece that has a patriotic sort of feeling in this era. It's like the violin, like the firsts, even the first violins, which normally play higher than the second violins, even the first violins will start down there, start down low. And even without looking at the rest of the music, I can tell later on we're going to play this an octave higher for sure. And because if you never really end with the violins playing down here. Like if you want to have like a nice, bigger, flourishing finish, you're going to have them jump the octave so they can sing out more, and we will get that. But this setup here is so very on brand for this type of
style.
This style, Okay. So this is bar 3, bar 4, kind of an extra thingy.
Yeah.
Now it's repeated.
So second time through.
Yeah.
And now only the fourth bar is the close of that phrase.
Yeah, it didn't give an extra filler. Yes.
Yeah.
Now some different filler.
5 bar.
Yeah.
And then the last phrase.
Right, it's back to A. Up the octave.
Right. See,
Yeah. So that B phrase.
And then a new idea. This B phrase I really like. It doesn't even sound that different. When you think of a B phrase, you want something contrasting, but the contrast isn't quite there. I mean, it's there subtly. It's descending now, whereas the other 2 A phrases were ascending. But it's really the accompaniment that I like. The accompaniment is really sort of fascinating. There's this like back and forth sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, but Han is laughing in this sequence, right? He's laughing at Lando. He says, "Lando, you sound like a businessman." And then he thinks that's hilarious, right? And so there's this da-da-dum bump dun dun da-da-dum bump down in the bottom that I want to think is Han laughing. That's sort of musical accompaniment to his laughter. That's how I read that. So
okay, let's go back to...
Can we listen to that? The B section?
For sure. Yeah, let's listen to it in the context. All right.
I am C3PO Human Cyborg Relations. My facilities are at you. Well, really.
Okay, this is the first time.
Hyperdrive.
I'll get my people to work on it.
Good.
You know that ship saved my life quite a few
A
times.
section.
It's the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
How's the gas mine?
A.
Paying off for you?
Second time.
As well as I'd like. Small outposts are not very self-sufficient. And I've had supply problems of every kind. I've had labor difficulties.
Yeah, B section.
You, listen to you. Sound like a businessman, a responsible leader. Who'd have thought that, huh?
You know, seeing you sure brings back a few things.
Are you talking about the pizzicato?
Yeah.
Yeah. The cellos down below,
Yeah.
bum, right?
Yeah, I can
it's
hear that.
a lot of it gets lost in the mix, but that at the very da da dum bum dun da da dun dun dun, it really sounds like laughter to me. So
That's cool. We're going back and forth between the two versions. Oh wait, no, I went way too far. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, it's just laughter. Yeah, especially that last part.
You can really hear it without the dialogue and the sound effects. You can really sort of focus in on that.
Yeah,
And then
between all of the instruments, like, because all of the strings are actually, most of the strings are actually already pitzing at that point. So we have the like cello or bass doing the downbeats, like do do, and then the violins are going like 1, 2.
Yeah. Right.
And then at the end, they all join together, where it's like 1, do 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 do, and that to me is really laughter like.
Yeah. And then they all sit on this big chord at the end. And then they get sort of wistful. Seeing you brings me back, seeing Han and Lando together, right? So I really feel like the music is really holding our hand nicely here. Yeah, it's supporting the action and the dialogue, but it's not overpowering it by any means.
Yeah, and the piano is the chord at the end. The piano. Are you talking about? Well, let me just keep playing. Is it?
All of that, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're in unison actually. Why? No, I don't feel like I'm. Wait, to make sure I'm in the right spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after the little joke, then
Right.
I think that's when Lando's like, "Yeah, I guess I'm successful,
Right,
or
now
whatever.
I'm
That's the price of
responsible."
success." Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But then it becomes even more grand, right? The string accompaniment down below. Now we've got the sort of not stepwise, but rhythmic sort of accompaniment where it was just a pedal before. So yeah, there's a lot of little things here, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's hear what you mean by the accompaniment. Actually, I should probably go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I like
Right
that
before
pizz end.
that pizzicato part, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about like, well, meanwhile the violins are up. They're up, and then instead of the cellos kind of just going like, just holding this,
Yeah.
they're like,
Right.
yeah.
I think there's some horns in there too, sort of paralleling what the cello you're doing at the bottom. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Sort
I
of
think the horns are playing
solid.
triads.
Yeah.
So the chords are more obvious, sort of there's more harmonic movement, or at least in an obvious way.
Right. So that's to make this regal, right? We've got the march rhythms, we've got the sort of the spacing of it, that those dotted rhythms really feel march-like.
Yeah, I was
not
wondering if you
imperial
meant the dotted.
march-like, but
Yeah.
but it definitely feels like that, right?
We were talking.
So-
Yeah, I on a recent episode, I think the one with Susan Tekla Kruglinska, I believe that was episode 12. We were talking about Yoda's moment of revealing that he's Yoda, and Yoda's B theme has like that kind of a dotted feeling to it, where it's like
Which comes back here in Cloud City, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
interesting. So
But of course, dotted doesn't always mean regal or whatever, but dotted rhythms are often used in a regal. Why is that?
March-like, yeah, right, to sort of spice up a march. I feel like.
So it's not just quarter notes too.
Yeah, it's not just plodding along, right?
Well, now I'm imagining like.
Well, yeah, you
like
can't
a skip.
physically do
You
it.
have to have a skip in your step. Oh, that should be. I have a new.
Next time
I have a new hope for Star Wars marches.
There we go.
Yeah, I want to see stormtroopers do a little skip and have a little skip in their step. But yeah, I think it's like the steadiness. Triplets are also very. I'm trying to think, but this one isn't really triplety. It's more, it leans more into the dotted. You know what it is? I think like dotted rhythms, especially if it's like evenly divisible, especially if it fits into four, it has like a precision to it. And I think maybe that's something about dotted rhythms that is reminiscent of a march, because it has to be precise. Like imagine if you have if you have a dotted
a regiment marching, they have to be in order, right?
Yeah,
so
and
I have to tell you,
please.
My son is 10 and he's playing piano now for a few years, and he's just learning about dotted rhythms. And so both me and my wife, we're both musicians, and we can hear him playing his dotted rhythms a little lazy. And so
I was just going to say, when you're learning music.
Yeah. Me and my wife have both had this conversation with him that, when you do those and you're sort of faking it, they can come off as triplets. So shout out to Lucas. Get that right, Lucas.
Oh my
He'll
gosh.
be listening to this podcast. So
that's really funny, because that is genuinely something. And you play cello, and I'm sure you had to practice this all the time too. Right. It's genuinely something that especially like youth orchestra conductors, directors are always trying to like get their orchestra in line. Just make sure. I'm going to play you the difference. Okay, I have my metronome here.
Nice.
So let's see. Okay, I'll play this rhythm. Okay. So I'm going to play it lazy first.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can't play it lazy.
Da 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 da.
That's lazy. That's considered lazy. So doing it more rhythmically strict would be. This is my. It's maybe it comes out especially when it's three, when it's a dotted eighth note to a 16th. Yeah.
1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. Yeah.
Yeah. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a, not 1 E and a 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
It's very easy to fall into the lazy triplets. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, I wanted to say it too. All right. That little like, what is it? I'll play it on three.
Bum, 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 bum,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have like kind of a Lydian moment there.
Yeah. Yeah. Uplifting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is like going so up. I mean, not everything, because the actual theme itself is more held back, but then the interstitial material, I feel like, kind of is pushing it up, making sure that it definitely remains more lighthearted. It's more, it's more of a
airy. Yeah.
Yeah, airy. Yeah.
And this is the how rude moment with 3PO.
Yeah.
Which it's impossible not to think of Full House for me. Is that a reference? You're a little younger than I am.
I know.
But,
I know Full House. I know the Mary
daughter
Kate and Ashley.
Yeah.
Character.
Stephanie Tanner. How rude. That was her catchphrase.
That's okay. I feel like that's definitely like it's highly memeable thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're playing off a 3PO there. They must.
I like to think that they are. Yeah, I have to go back to the 3PO part. We have to hear that in context. What happens is he spots another protocol droid. And I should mention, like, prior to this, I'm actually going to put up pictures because Cloud City looks really beautiful. Like it's clear. Like, look at this thing. Like it's
it definitely
futuristic.
Is an environment
it's like,
we haven't seen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like probably the most sci-fi thing that we've seen, or at least that I think I've seen. Yeah, I mean, this place is just like immaculate on the surface. Also, we forgot to mention Lobot.
Oh, yes.
Lobot is a thing.
Well, and also George Lucas goes in and cleans up a lot of this, right? I think the original film, Cloud City, didn't look nearly as pristine as it does in the current editions. I think a lot of like window shots were altered. They enhanced a lot of that as well.
Okay.
It would be interesting to go back and look at sort of an original 1980 version of Empire versus the Disney Plus versions. These days.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure someone listening can let me know. Yeah, that's a fair point. So 3PO spots another protocol droid.
Seeing you sure brings back a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm responsible these days. Price you pay for
Back to walking.
Oh, nice to see a familiar face. Echuta. How rude. That sounds like an auto unit in there. I wonder if... Hello? How interesting.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. No, please don't get up. No!
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so tragic.
Poor 3PO. He's just looking for his friend, right? He's just looking for R2.
Yeah, and because R2's not here, we don't have 3PO just bantering. Like, bantering's
Right.
a nice way to put it. Like, just back and forth, like demeaning R2. When R2's not there,
Right.
it's like he misses his friend. He's like, sounds like an R2 unit. I like R2
Right.
units.
And he'll have to be taking it out on Chewie here in a little bit, once he's strapped to Chewie's back. But that's a different set of 5 minutes.
Yeah. So Echuta.
What do you think of this little mini phrase here, ending in this big old cadence?
You mean like during this 3PO section?
Yeah. We've got the sort of the droid allusion to the droid theme. And then we sort of build to this climax, but it's not, I don't know, there's not a lot to hang your hat on here.
Do you mean when the horns right before I stop?
Da, 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 which, I don't know. Do you hear that as a reference to Luke or no?
Let's listen.
Here.
I heard starting with like the triplet.
Yeah. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that is. Let's
I don't-
listen again. I mean, it's a little before. It does. It is like reminiscent of it for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, it's like almost makes me wonder if it's like some sort of a play on, like if it's an inversion or something. I can't. And it's like,
Yeah.
it does kind of go. It goes like up, and then it kind of goes down, and then up. It is reminiscent of Luke's theme. Dominic
Yeah, but
Sewell,
what's
if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've already analyzed this.
But what's it doing here? That's the real question. If it is a reference to Luke, I don't. why here, I guess, you know.
What this reminds me of is like the droid's Tatooine adventures in A New Hope.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's specifically like Luke theme, but it almost does remind me of like R2 and 3PO having droid, I don't know, like getting captured by the Jawas and everything.
Yeah.
Where were you hearing the droid motif?
Well, da 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 da.
Oh, in the flutes.
I don't know. Yeah, in the flutes, just prior to this.
Actually.
Right? With that augmented fifth.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, you know, I think it's an illusion. It's not a specific reference probably, but
something about it does perk my ear as
Right?
well. Because the intervals are, it's such, well,
yeah. I think the flavor is right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
something there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's not spot on either at the same
Yeah.
time. So
Our ears are just perking up there for some reason. Yeah, so I guess the way that it ends with this horn.
yeah, that horn call is interesting.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's
Where
planing
does
triads.
Doesn't that just sound like Star Wars? That to
Yes.
me, it's just like pure Star
100%.
Wars, right? Like I can't
Totally.
place it, but it's like it's Star Wars.
Well, it's like the planing. It's the dotted. It's the triad. It's the brass planing thing.
The
it's
brass.
the going from
Yeah.
like one chord to a seemingly unrelated chord. It's like the chromaticism. It's all there.
Yeah, it checks all the boxes. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then before that, I rather like that string at Celerando where it's like
Dun, 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 dun. Uh-huh. Again,
yeah.
a Star Wars rhythm if there ever was one, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're just distilling it down to its essence of Star Wars and just giving us little bits here and there.
Yeah. Okay. And then continuing.
Which I
on.
guess is appropriate because we are now transitioning, right? We
Yes.
need to sort of divest from Cloud City and move over to Dagobah.
Exactly. It is a. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. No, please don't get up. No!
Okay. Cutting to Dagobah. Now this definitely Luke's theme.
Minor.
Beat the
Luke's
training.
theme.
Minor.
Out of my head, they're
What
my
do you mean?
friends. I gotta help
Yeah.
them.
Ba-ba,
the vision out of my head.
ba-da-da. Oh, I guess not. It just sounds so sad to me.
Yeah,
Play it
but
again.
yeah, you're right. It does sound plaintive.
You must compete.
Yeah.
It's it's on horn and clarinet,
Yeah.
English horn. Oops, let me go back a little bit. Also, listen to the
I
bass.
think of that as being in the minor. That's so ridiculous.
Well, listen to the pedal.
Yeah.
Luke, you must complete the training. I can't keep the vision.
It's like on the surface, the melody sounds fine, and then the bass notes are kind of a little off.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like ostensibly in like E,
Mm-hmm.
and the bass is like.
Falls
I mean,
down.
it's not even that it's not. It's not that the bass notes are in a wrong key or anything. It's just maybe it's that they're on the third. They're on a G sharp.
Yeah. A little more unstable. Yeah.
But then they also go to, let's see, G sharp. Let's hear it again.
Down to the 5th.
Oh yeah, they go down to the F sharp.
To F sharp. Yeah.
I can't keep the
Yeah.
out of my head. They're my friends.
His, yeah.
Yeah. But then what's really sort of delicious is that bass note. I'm a cellist, so I'm always focused from the bottom up. That F sharp then falls down again to F natural on Han and Luke, or Han and Leia will die if I don't go, right? So, and it's this not solo, but that F natural down at the bottom. Let's listen.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Okay. F sharp.
Luke, you must complete the training.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
You must not go.
Yeah.
And another one, right?
Another one. Oh yeah, you're right. Wait, one.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just so ominous right there, right? Not doing anything, but just sort of. I almost want them to keep continuing down, like F E. Give me a little reverse Jaws, right? Da 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 da, right? Right. And then we're halfway to a Dies Irae. Yeah, it would have been perfect right there.
Oh yeah.
So if I don't know if John Williams is still accepting notes, but that's what I'd submit.
Accepting notes on Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only 45 years ago. What's the big deal?
Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
Okay, visually, everything happening here is really funny. So, obviously, we're back on Dagobah, and Yoda is saying, "Luke, you must complete the training." And Luke can't get this vision out of his head. It sounds like his sentence runs on a bit.
Luke, you must complete the training.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
You must not go.
They're my friends. I gotta help them.
Yeah, he's acting against a puppet. I get it,
And then, everything is really funny here.
Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that.
And then Ben appears as a ghost.
Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
And of course, we have the celeste.
The music is really sort of perfect to highlight that too. That celeste,
Yeah.
Sugar plum fairies and dead Jedis, that they go hand in hand apparently.
Yeah. And the harp is going to be glistening up and down.
And help them. I feel the Force.
But you cannot control.
Really softly though.
This is a dangerous time for you, when you will be tempted by the dark side.
Of course, we have the Force theme.
Yes. To Obi-Wan, you listen.
Hint at the
cave. Remember your failure at the cave.
But I've learned so.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to listen to this without the dialogue.
So much.
There are lots of little hints.
All those the harp and the synth and all that, it sort of calls back to the beginning of this cue back in Cloud City. We had that opening clarinet and flute glissandos as well. So it's sort of interesting to see them paired in this one single cue, but in two radically different places. Cloud City to Dagobah.
Yeah. Okay, I need to show visuals because this is just this whole they look so so ghosty, super ghosty. Pulling out all the stops. Okay, we have some teeth that were made. It's really funny stuff. They are not playing around here. Let's see. There are many ways we could go with this. Should we listen to it without the dialogue now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think just to get because you can really tell when Ben is speaking, the music is very evocative of this sort of Force ghost sound. And there are a lot of all the leitmotifs, right? The Imperial March, we got the Force theme, we got Luke's theme. So we have a good sense of what's going on.
There's definitely a lot happening. Okay. You can really hear the string texture as well. The violins going like triplet or
triplet,
violas.
da, da, da,
Yeah.
da.
That ominous cello.
Really hear it there. Yeah.
Very sparkly. And you can hear that harp
Yeah.
really softly.
Yeah. That's really great. Dark
Little-
timbres that I'm thinking it's a bass clarinet, right? Or a bassoon.
Sounds like bass
Or
clarinet.
both?
Yeah, bass clarinet
Yeah.
bassoon.
Real dark, real ominous, even, perfect for the melody.
Yeah,
And do we have all sort of woodwinds as the melodies here in Dagobah? The opening was clarinet
flutes.
and flutes
and bassoon.
and bassoons and clarinet. Yeah. So that
English horn.
for the setting
clarinet. Yeah.
makes a lot of sense, right? That woodwinds would be here in this very rustic, organic environment. Strings are there, but I don't know if they're ever really the lead
Not here.
lead melody. Yeah. So,
Not here. And it's one of the I think it's one of the things that lends this whole Dagobah section. It gives it a very dreamlike feeling for me because the strings persistently are either trilling, like whole notes basically, trilling or
yeah, or
tremoloing.
like rocking back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, just like either or like just
Yeah.
back and forth things, and it kind of there's like an underlying platform of sound at all times.
Yeah. Sort of a bed of strings, and then we've got this sort of woodwinds sort of filling out the melody and the harmony.
Yeah, it's like a thick mist is
Yeah,
the strings.
yeah. It's appropriate. That's great.
It's like I almost thought that was going to be Yoda's theme.
I know. You really want it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm considering the French horn as an honorary woodwind instrument in this context, right?
For sure.
They play really nicely with all the woodwinds. So
Yeah. I mean, French horn is sometimes considered.
Yeah. This melody reminds me of. Do you remember Field of Dreams? The opening to Field of Dreams. There is a sort of there's this voiceover. It's the baseball movie. Build it and they will come.
I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's a good movie.
Okay.
It's a James Horner score.
Okay.
And there is a supernatural element to this. I won't spoil it for you, but it's a Kevin Costner film from the late 80s, early 90s, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And in this voiceover, he's telling his relationship with his father. He's telling the history. And his father loved baseball, and it was the only thing he could bond about with his father. So he's telling the story, and one of the opening textures is a solo horn melody, very similar to this. So I'm getting Field of Dreams vibes here. So I don't know if Yoda and Kevin Costner have much in common, but James Horner is a notorious, shall we say, borrower of other people's music. So it wouldn't surprise me if he had some sort of Empire Strikes Back soundtrack going in his head. So,
to be fair, French horn is also very like this.
Like this. My wife is a horn player. So.
Oh, okay. I think of Pavon for a Dead Princess, the orchestration.
Okay.
That's always like a big reference for me when it comes to like, especially solo French horn or something that kind of sounds a little bit plaintive, wistful.
Yeah,
like memory, thinking of memories and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit because there's lots. Okay, well, let's go back even more. First of all, that first Luke theme, like it's interesting how the Luke's theme happens in this scene, which it sounds more, it kind of sounds like the homespun Luke theme that we hear in A New Hope, which is often on Woodwinds, and I associate with like his his more simple life before all of this.
But, you know, he's anxious. He's like packing up his X-Wing. He's sort of moving stuff around. He's like, he feels like he has to go, right? So at the same time, there's this sort of anxiety attached to it.
Yeah, it's
but
sort
I must
of
go, he says.
Yeah. It does sound pretty self-assured.
It's the basses really give you that sort of, they allude to something else, a little bit of danger.
Yeah. The basses, I feel like, do you feel like those are kind of coming from Yoda?
Oh, if you don't pay attention, something bad's going to happen.
I mean, I feel like here the scene the dialogue is so heavy-handed here. Like what Yoda and Ben team up to both be, you know, it's like when both of your parents are teaming up against you. There's no good cop, bad cop. It's just they're both bad cop.
Right. But in this case, it's a 900-year-old Jedi and your mentor at the same time.
Yeah, your ghost mentor.
Your ghost mentor.
Really trying to like lay it on him, and even going so far as to like if you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil. Like. Damn.
Sometimes you got to lay it on thick, you know?
I feel like at this point, at least how Yoda says that and how quickly he says it, I feel like Yoda is not even speaking from a place of calm clarity. I feel like he's scared and kind of being a little bit like grasping a little bit tighter than he knows he needs to. He'll probably kind of regret it afterward a little bit, but he's kind of reacting to like Luke already wants to leave the coop already.
Yeah. He's going. He's already made up his mind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have the Force theme, aka Ben's theme, while Ben is here.
Again, all pedals too, right? No changing harmony in any of this. The Force theme, all pedal. Well, maybe there's a little shift there on the dark side. But again, and then once we get into the solo horn, again, just this bed of strings with the melody floating above it.
Yeah, it is very stagnant in a way, or slow moving. And then when the Imperial March hint comes in, it's not an exact, like there is one note that is altered.
Right. It doesn't jump up the fifth. Dun 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 dun. It's dun
exactly.
dun 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 dun. So implying it, right? Right.
Instead of. But the harmony is still there.
Right.
But yeah, it's almost it's like they're saying he who must not be named. And then Luke's like, I've learned so much. I promise to return and finish what I've begun. You have my word. And it's Luke giving this sort of pushback is kind of what makes them give more information to him. I mean, they dole out information very sparingly to him, really.
Yeah.
And so here we get a bit of information, I guess, which is, it is you and your abilities the Emperor wants. This is why your friends are made to suffer. So something about Luke himself being sought after. I mean, I wonder if Luke put two and two together at all, like, oh, I'm the bait. But it sounds like Ben knows that Luke is the bait.
Yeah, well, I feel like they've seen the script unfold before, and they're trying to do what they can to alter that. But he's made his mind up. There's nothing that's going to change Luke's mind. So
yeah, like they could tell him the whole story of Anakin at this point if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think it's like Luke's journey that he has to take. It's his mistake that if he's going to make this mistake, then he has to deal with it. Yeah. And then we have Yoda's.
It's such a beautiful melody, right?
I know.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Stopped they must be. On this all depends. Only a fully trained Jedi Knight with the Force as his ally will conquer Vader and his Emperor. If you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
And that
the way
moment
that doesn't
is really fantastic with that climax, right? But again, pedal, nothing. It's just a bed down below. Nothing changing, nothing moving.
Yeah.
To support that. So maybe that's Luke being obstinate and stubborn and saying, "I don't care. You whatever you say, I'm going anyway."
I think it's Yoda's words getting lost in the mist. He's kind of speaking. He's speaking
wouldn't hear
clearly,
anything,
but
right?
there's no usually that's the moment where there's a satisfying chord change, and
Right.
it's just not. It's just
Doesn't happen.
ooh, yeah. It's like so unsatisfying in that sense, but really beautiful in like the textural sense.
Yeah.
This is like impressionist music here. Those violins are just all the strings are just they just keep holding their ground. They're sustaining their pedal, and
and the celeste sort of flourishes are just sort of lovely.
yeah. It really feels like a dream. Yeah, harp and celeste. Yeah, man.
Well, that it's a very old sort of trope about the harp glissando and then sort of flashback to something else, right? So it's almost like we're implying that something's not happening or something is.
Yeah, that's true. It definitely is very. It is a very. It definitely is a trope. And then there is a little bit more. So this is Luke saying, "I understand. R2, fire up the converters."
So
and that part's very cool.
This solo horn is just perfect text painting though, right? Because Obi-Wan at this right prior to this is saying, if you go, I can't help you. You're going to have to do it alone. And when he says alone, we get Luke's theme essentially alone. There is, I think strings are holding that pedal, but it's just a solo horn. So again, perfect. You could close your eyes, ignore the dialogue, and know exactly what's going on, right? The music is guiding us from one theme to another, to one setting to another. And it's perfect sort of text painting moment here at the very end. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. And at the beginning of this Dagobah scene where we have like, oops, sorry. The bass was doing a third. That's right. And then it was kind of like going like that. Here we have the solo is, it's unwavering. It's lone, but it's steady. It's like, it's confident. And the bass.
This one's in minor, though.
No, well, it's in normal.
Play it again.
Yeah, let's. And go back.
Oh,
no, we were almost there. My bad.
Okay. Oh no, I misheard it. You're right. That's another one.
And then when this bass comes in, it's on the tonic and doesn't go to any weird place. It comes in just on the tonic. It's fortifying, it's a very Luke stepping into a little bit of his power confidence.
But don't those bass notes remind you of those F naturals from before? They're still a little ominous. The way they come in at the end. But can you play it one more time?
I hear them as more fortifying. No, more fortifying. One person being like, doo, 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 and then it's like someone else being like, I'll join too, kind of holding hands or something. But
because they're on the tonic.
Yeah. Okay, me too. I'll come too.
Okay. Just the way they sneak in at the end is a little, But this next part I love too. The celeste again.
Ooh, the Force theme. We're spilling a tiny bit into the next set of minutes, but that's.
I was going to say,
kind of hard
so frustrating.
It's hard to not
5
just
minutes.
end.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you ever fudge it, or are you always on the 5 minute mark?
No, I'll fudge it. If it's just going to awkwardly cut a conversation short where you just need a few more seconds to finish a phrase or something. No.
Yeah.
It's not
just because
to the point
we miss on a great line, no, there is another. It would be nice to have that here, but I get it. We'll save that for the next 5 minutes.
Well, we can absolutely talk about it,
Well.
But that's, that, oh boy. I love this, I love this cue.
Yeah. No, and there's so many little delicate little touches that maybe you don't even hear them in the mix of the film, but when you go and sit down with the soundtrack, those little celeste, these little planing little thirds in the background, sort of flitting about, but it's really sort of delicate, right?
And I think the interesting thing about that happening on the celeste is, well, first of all, they're actually playing like a dotted rhythm. I'll go back a little bit so you can hear it. They're going 1 E and a 2 E and a.
Yeah.
Because of the interplay between the harp and the celeste are they're slightly staggered by 16th notes.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like the whole thing is going like it.
But they're also filling in the hole, but on the theme, right? The theme starts on this big half note, and there's a big gap there. So the accompaniment gets to sort of fill in that space and then lend itself to the melody and then come back and fill in that hole again.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't feel so, it doesn't feel very precise because it doesn't feel, it's not immediately recognizable oh yeah, that's the rhythm. It's filling in like that. It's more of the effect, it's more effecty, I think it's because the celeste is an instrument with so much sound to it. It doesn't have a super clear attack. It has a very long, a reverb tail or whatnot. It has it is there's a clang to it, and it's just it's not, it's not like a precise snare where it's that's the rhythm for sure.
And there's a brightness too, which is a little unusual.
Yeah.
Right?
And here they're not stopping the notes.
Right.
They're just kind of letting it all ring. So it just kind of is all ringing on top of each other.
Which is perfect for this hazy sort of, effect that we're going for in Dagobah.
Definitely. Absolutely hazy.
Yeah.
That is definitely true. And this, Just a moment of appreciation for this. Like, they are trying. They're really trying.
Poor Yoda.
The hands up. Oh my God. They're, yeah. I took so many screenshots of this because I was just like, the expressions that they collectively go through are just really funny to me. But their boy is gonna leave. Their boy is leaving with R2.
Yeah.
So perhaps we can go back to the version with dialogue and everything, and hear that in the context.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to think about what the music's doing with the dialogue and in support of the dialogue in this sequence. So keep an ear on that as we're going through it.
Absolutely. All right.
Oh my. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. No, please don't get up.
Okay, wait. I'll skip a little bit forward so we don't have to hear poor 3PO.
Look, you must complete the training.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
You must not go.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that.
Yep.
Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
But I can help them. I feel the Force.
But you cannot control.
The animals in the background too.
This is
They're
a
like,
dangerous time when you will be tempted by the dark side of the Force.
Yes. To Obi-Wan you listen. The cave.
and of course, that's where we hear the hint of the Imperial March. It's goes along with the dialogue.
Cave. Remember your failure at the cave.
But I've learned so much since then. Master Yoda, I promised.
Do you think he failed at the cave?
I mean, Yoda says he fails, right?
Yeah.
That sequence in the cave is really fascinating. I forget, there's a book, one of the Star Wars books talks about Yoda picking Dagobah because there was a dark Jedi who died there or left something on Dagobah, and that's why the cave is like it is. It's got this dark side energy, and that he picked it to balance light side and dark, and that's how he was able to evade detection for all these years. And I've always been fascinated by this idea of who was the dark side Jedi, who was there, what did they leave behind, right? To create this sort of this power in this place.
Yeah,
Always been a fascination.
definitely.
Yeah.
To return and finish what I've begun. You have my word.
It is you and your abilities the Emperor wants. That is why your friends are made to suffer.
The register of the
That's where I have to
horn complements.
Luke, I don't
His
want
voice.
to lose you to the Emperor the way I lost Vader.
You won't.
Stop. They must be. On
And
this
flutes
hall.
high above, still getting dialogue below. Yeah.
And it enters when Yoda is like entering.
Advance. Only a fully trained Jedi Knight, with the Force as his ally, will conquer Vader and his...
And Yoda's dialogue is so deep, right? His delivery, if we're talking about register, is very low. So the flutes are sort of off, way above, nicely fitting above his dialogue.
Exactly.
If you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
He kind of throws it in at the end. You will become an agent of evil. Something like that. It's not only the depth, like the deep register of Yoda's voice, it's like also really gravelly at this point, which contrasts with the very pure sounding flute. Yoda.
You choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
Patience.
And sacrifice Han and Leia.
I think Ben's voice sounds really weird there. I don't know if they ADR'd it with like a different, the patience. I don't know if that sounds like.
You will become an agent of evil.
Patience.
and sacrifice
Sounds like
Leia.
deep.
If you honor
very
what we fight
passionate.
for,
Yeah.
yes.
If you choose to face Vader, you will do it alone. I cannot interfere.
I understand.
See, I'm alone. I have to do it alone. I understand.
R2?
And the pedal comes in with R2. He does have a friend with him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Man, this really just strikes me as just like a parent really just trying to hold on to their kid a little bit longer. It's interesting how Yoda jumps so quickly to kind of assuming the worst. He says, if you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, kind of conflating the two things. Like, ending your training now doesn't have to necessarily mean choosing the quick and easy path as Vader did. Those don't have to be, but it sounds like he thinks one thing will lead to another. So it's more like, it's not if you end your training now, you will become an agent of evil. It's what he means is if you do what Vader did, you will become an agent of evil. But I'm worried that if you end your training now, then you'll be susceptible to doing what Vader did. Yeah, they definitely have some trauma that they're all working through with what happened to Vader.
Right. And maybe Yoda and Ben know that Palpatine and Vader are, in theory, trying to turn Luke. Maybe they know, they have an inkling that they're not just trying to kill Luke, but they're trying to turn him like they turned Vader.
Yeah, and because the thing is, Luke's been doing all of this physical training. He's been doing mental training too, but like the thing that got Anakin in the end was not a physical, it wasn't the Sith physically overpowering him. It was a mental strategy. It was the psychological thing. So it's, the fear isn't that Luke is going to lose a lightsaber battle and then have to become a Sith.
Right.
It's that they'll get into his mind. And
so you asked about the cave before. Do you think he failed? What was Yoda looking for in terms of the outcome there?
I don't know what Yoda was looking for, but I think that I have a working theory that I think all cave visions, I don't think there's a way to succeed or fail at them. I think they all have to feel like scary failures in a way. I think it's all it all depends on it. The cave shows things. I don't think the cave is a trial that you beat while that you pass or fail. It's more like going through the cave is a rite of passage that's going to haunt you for the rest of your days. And you're kind of always going to be thinking about what happened in the cave. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
But so Yoda actually calling it a failure at this point makes me, like, on Luke's behalf, makes me a little bit like indignant. Like, well, it was the whole point of the cave is you see like really freaky fears and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's possible that Yoda's like, it was a failure because you weren't supposed to bring your weapon, and then because you had your weapon, you whatever,
turned
like
to
failed
violence.
on a technicality. Yeah.
I never thought of it like that, but I like the interpretation. Yeah, it works.
What did you think that Yoda was looking for?
I don't know. That's when you put it in this context, it feels like Yoda was looking for something that was a little bit more mental than physical, and that it became a physical thing. But this is Luke's first step in this journey, and maybe it was a success in that it showed him what's not going to work. That the next, when he next sees Vader, right? He's trying not to be physical, that it's a mental thing.
So true. And even in the cave, when he does bring his weapon and it does become physical, the part that ends up freaking him out isn't the most, is seeing his face in Vader's mask. It's the psychological heebie-jeebies that I think, because the battle itself in the cave is just, clash, 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 head cut off. Oh my gosh, I cut my own head off. Oh my gosh, I cut what? I'm in the mask. I'm something.
I was the bad guy all along. Right?
Yeah, which I think is like the hardest thing to reckon. I think that's the hardest thing to reckon with. But yeah, Luke, the cave did exactly what the cave was supposed to do. Jedi all go through this. There's a long history of Jedi going through this. They're going to see their fears. They're going to see their nightmares. Rey does the same thing in the mirror cave. So I think I think it was just what was expected. But then, I don't know. I don't think it was a failure, Luke.
Fire up the converters.
Luke, don't give in to hate. That leads to the dark side.
Strong is Vader. Mind what you have learned. Save you again.
I like this because they realize he's leaving, so they're like, okay, fine, we're gonna ditch the act.
We're gonna
just
cram
give you
in
some
like
last
3
minute
pieces of
advice.
information.
Yeah.
You have to know this. You have to know this. You can do this. You're okay.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah,
Right?
the very last minute pep talk with the Force theme. Fine.
So Ben can't help because he's now a Force ghost.
I think he can't help because of his relationship with Vader, and just because Luke needs to do this on his own.
Okay. So, but could Yoda have helped?
I guess what would help look like if they? What would they have done?
I don't know, but when he says "I can't help you," it sounds like I did on the Death Star, right? Whether that's telling him to run or telling him to turn off the nav computer.
Yeah. I think it's right, I can't mentor you through this. Like,
okay.
I'm not going to be by your side popping up.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I think.
It could just be a nice screenwriting,
Yeah. But like Luke does at this point, I think it's safe to assume that Luke is used to having this mentor on his shoulder. Maybe not all the time. Maybe it's not like, hey, Ben. Oh, yeah, there he is. But he's used to having someone looking after him in some way. And to be explicitly told, I'm not going to be able to pop up
right.
for this. Yeah. You're completely on your own for this. Is a little bit different. Yeah, in Heir to the Empire, which is a Legends book, not canon, there is like a part at the beginning where Luke is talking to Obi-Wan, as he does, and Obi-Wan's like, this is going to be the last time I'm going to appear to you. Like, basically it's implied that there's a lifespan to the Force Ghost thing, and that he's not going to really be able to do that for much longer. And when I read that, that was sort of the first time I really thought of like, okay, I guess maybe the Force Ghost thing is not to be taken for granted. Yeah. That's
from one of the Thrawn trilogies early on.
Yeah. And it's not as good as the canon Thrawn trilogy.
Okay. Oh, well, that's for another podcast. What I can say is that the author, I'm blanking on his name.
Zahn.
Yeah. I think he lives outside of Boston, or he did, because Wayland is a planet, right? Or it's
like a mountain.
Yeah. Wayland is the town next to me outside of Boston.
No way.
Yeah, I play soccer in Wayland frequently. So
that's so funny. That
every
takes
time
a little bit of the mystery
border,
out of it.
I get a little, I get a little Thrawn in the back of my head. So
that's funny. Well, actually, yeah, okay, that's hilarious. Actually, Wayland, I'm sure Wayland will pop up in canon material pretty soon, probably.
I think Bad Batch is supposed to.
They hinted
thought
at
there
it.
was a little reference to.
I think there was in the finale.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That's really funny. Yeah. There's like this Jedi master that lives in Wayland, and it's a very cloney situation and everything. It's
Kaboth, right? Kaboth. Yeah.
Sabaoth, as they say in the audiobooks.
Oh, is that how you're supposed to? Oh,
You
that's good. I've
would
been
never-
pronouncing it Kaboth my entire life.
Oh, you would. That is a very. That's the way that it's spelled. It's a debate.
Capitals.
How do you? This is the
How do
name.
you pronounce it? Oh yeah.
Joruus Sabaoth.
Yeah, I would never have thought to pronounce it Sabaoth. That's interesting. Okay, so that's what the audiobook says. Wow.
Yeah.
That changes a lot for me.
I know.
I loved because they came out like mid '90s, right? So this was before there was no Star Wars. That was it. I saw the re-releases. They did the original trilogy came out in '97. I think they put them back out in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, there was just this like Star Wars desert, and all we had were these books. So those books were a highlight for me, certainly.
Yeah, I have heard. I read them all last year, and no, 2 years ago because it's 2023 now. But I have heard that they were very instrumental in like keeping the spark alive for Star Wars fans.
For nerds of my age, I think they were pivotal. That's for sure. So the new Thrawn trilogy is tough for me.
Have you read it all?
I have. I struggle with all the names. I really wish there were.
Are you talking about the Thrawn Ascendancy then?
Yeah, I mean, I should reread them because I probably didn't give them full attention.
Okay, there's 6 of them.
Whoa, there's 6? I thought there were only 3.
No, there's 6, and I wonder if you read the second trilogy first, because all the weird names are in the second trilogy.
Oh, that's probably what I did.
Like all of the. Oh, okay.
All right. Now I need to. Okay, that's good.
The first book of the first trilogy is simply called Thrawn, and the second one is Thrawn: Alliances. And the third one is Thrawn: Treason. And then the second trilogy, which talks about his people, the Chiss Ascendancy, that's Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, Thrawn Ascendancy, Greater Good, Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil. And yeah, that can be confusing just because the Chiss have such long names and they kind of refer to like the families that they belong to and whatever. Like Mithron Yorodo is Thrawn's full name. It's like, but you're supposed to know Mithron Yorodo implies that he's part of the Myth family, blah, 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 blah. It can be, but definitely read the first trilogy.
I'm going to go back and double check to see what I did because maybe I screwed it up.
Okay. That's funny. Yeah, so I forgot how we got on that topic. Wayland,
no
dreams,
idea.
but also it was because of the Force Ghost and Heir to the Empire. Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah. Which Lando was there. It's like the scene, like Lando's drinking hot chocolate, which is now, which I think was not controversial. People at the time, I've heard that people were like, "There's hot chocolate in Star Wars" at the time, but since then, I think they've explicitly introduced hot chocolate in canon, probably because of that. Anyway, I guess we're pretty much at the end of the minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
This is, just 2 very distinct atmospheres. They're all part of the same cue. Which
is
probably
weird. Is that unusual? Do you, as you've been working through, has he combined 2 sort of random cues into one like this on a soundtrack?
Yeah.
Okay. Just makes it work.
Yeah, there are some interesting pairings of things. Like, I think one of the main ones is like I forgot what it's called, Han Solo and the Princess cue or something has like a big has a big like emperor section to it. The way that cues are organized and named and split up is sometimes like you get really long cues and sometimes you get like a cue that is 2 pages of score and 20 seconds of music. But yeah, I guess that's because the cues are more of a behind the scenes, thing, the reels and the whatever. Yeah, it is funny. We start with the Lando's palace, and then we go to this like very opposite, like, I don't know. We go from very not Forcey at all. We go from like this very just regal palace thing to this like ghosts. We have the Dagobah mist. We have like warnings of evil and failures in the cave and everything.
And the physical environments are so radically different. You know, the beautiful sort of facades of Cloud City and the very rustic,
supernatural
outdoors.
environment.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that is a really good point. Yeah, there's like no iPhones on Dagobah. And yeah. So I guess this is probably a good time to run a Dies Irae by you.
Yeah, please.
So this happens in, it's in two, I think I also tweeted it to you. Dies Irae. Okay, so it happened in episode 14, and it was, I'm going to play it for you. Okay. I'll play it for you first. I'll play it with the dialogue so you can hear it. In the film, runtime-wise, it's 1:07:39. But I'll play it for you now. Okay, let's see. So it's going to be at 1:2:30. Okay. Okay, I'll lead into it. Shut up!
Moving to attack position. Shields up.
Did you hear it?
No.
Okay. Let's do it again.
Shields up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like a twinkling Dies Irae.
Twinkling. Yeah, I guess, because it's like fast and up high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it just, I'm presenting it to the committee, so.
Yeah, we'll have to put it through the machine and see what it spits out.
Do that. But it does happen in a place of tension for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're here talking about the Dies Irae, I guess I could tell the audience that I'm writing a book now on the Dies Irae. So hopefully, the manuscript's due at the end of the year. So I've got some time, but, time, what is time anyway, right?
That's so excellent.
Yeah, but there will definitely be a subsection. I don't know if it'll be a full chapter, but a subsection on Star Wars Dies Irae. And I think there's going to be a similar chunk on just John Williams outside of Star Wars, because even outside of Star Wars, he loves him some Dies Irae. That's for sure. So it's a big project, but I'm looking forward to it. And,
that's so
the help
good.
of you and all the listeners is fantastic. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you ever spot a Dies Irae in film or TV, check the list on Alex's website first to see if it's already there. And then if it's not there, then let him know.
Yeah, please send me an email, send them to me. And I just put out a new volume a month ago, volume 13.
Yep.
So we're over almost at 300 references now. And that's video games too. So film, most of them, but TV and some video games. So whatever you hear, if you hear it in media on a screen somewhere, send it along.
So good. And of course, listen to our episode, Diagnosing Dies Irae. I'll put a link in the show notes to have like the full, that's the real Dies Irae primer episode. It's in the context of Dies Irae showing up in Star Wars, but then we also go through like the different types that Alex uses, that Alex designates, and what makes a Dies Irae, and we go through lots of examples in that. So I do recommend that episode where Alex really gave us the primer. Yeah. Cool. Well, is there anything else about these minutes that you didn't get to mention?
I think we're good. Yeah, we are good.
Cool. Really, I do want to say one more thing, which is like Lando's music doesn't show up in Solo: A Star Wars Story in any way, as far as I remember. And it kind of makes me, I would like to hear more sort of musical representations of Lando, because this particular one feels very tied to Cloud City. but I can also see how it represents Lando too, because he kind of also has this sort of exterior that's like, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Lando having, I don't know, do you consider this Cloud City thing to be like Lando's theme?
No, it feels like Cloud City's theme. Right?
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's more the latter.
Yeah. I would be open to hearing it, molded to different situations that Lando encounters. But yeah,
Does
I
he
do.
get a theme in Return of the Jedi when he's on the Falcon or anything like that?
It's a good question. I don't certainly the Cloud City theme doesn't come up.
No.
I really don't think he does.
No. Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame, I think. Yeah. Lando is someone that I'm warming up to. I don't think I appreciated him in the past. I also didn't really appreciate Han Solo.
Well, I get that.
And Lando kind of felt cut from the same cloth as Han Solo. But I also think the lack of... It is interesting to note that both of them also lacked clear themes in the original movies. Like Solo a Star Wars Story is when Han got his theme.
Finally gets a theme, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's like subconsciously something that, I don't know, maybe that's...
maybe there's more Lando content out there that we'll get at some point. It'd be great to see Donald Glover come back. He was fantastic.
I wouldn't mind that. I would welcome that. I have to say, even though Solo a Star Wars Story was not my favorite Star Wars movie, as I've been going through this film, The Empire Strikes Back, it does feel like my connection to the characters, especially Han and Lando, it does feel stronger because of Solo a Star Wars Story, undeniably.
Yeah. Well, that's the point of a good prequel, right? Is that it will then inform your understanding of the original work. I don't think that's the point of a good prequel. I think a good prequel is a good movie. I don't think it should be just to make your enjoyment of the better movies better, because then it's like, why would you even watch a prequel? Like, it kind of feels like, okay, I guess I should do my homework to make me increase my understanding of the films I already really like. For example, I think the Star Wars prequels are perfect, near perfect. I mean, I love them. I think they are very successful prequels because obviously these things are very subjective. But You're a big fan of sand, apparently.
But I don't like the prequels because of how they make me feel about the originals. I like the prequels because I like the prequels, and they also enrich my experience of the whole Star Wars universe, for sure. They also do that. But Solo is it's fine, but I am still, it's like shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, land among the stars. So, maybe I didn't reach the moon with Solo a Star Wars Story, but there were still a lot of good things that came from it for me, like the score. I appreciate the score for that movie, and I appreciate how it, seeps into the other media in Star Wars that I already like. That's how I feel about a lot of Star Wars media. As someone who reads a lot of the books, most of them, I feel like, okay, they're fine. I will take little pieces from it and, kind of mine the book for the parts that I think, can maybe make cool connections with other stuff that I already knew, or just
I still maintain Solo should have been a Disney Plus show, and I think it would have been received a lot better that way.
I think so. I think so too.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a few years too early
on its own.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different story.
Totally. Are you ready for your third run of the Star Wars Music Minute Questionnaire?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. Do you want to know your old answers first? Or do you want to just
No.
Wing it. Okay. Okay.
No, let's wing it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Question number 1. In exactly 3 words, what does Star Wars sound like?
How about stories in sound?
That's very poetic.
I like that, right? It's a little alliterative too. So.
Oh, I like that a lot. Your old answers were soaring, searching strings. And then you've also said triumphant brass fanfares and ominous contrapuntal warblings.
Oh,
All of them
like
are very poetic answers. Yeah.
Warblings. I like that.
Yeah. 2, what is something related to Star Wars music or sound that you are curious about or want to learn more about?
So there's probably an answer to this, but I would really like to know, what were the spotting sessions like for this film in particular? Was George Lucas there too? I assume he probably was. But was it the director? Was it the screenwriter and Luke? All of them together. I would love to be a fly on the wall when those decisions were made, and what was the stew that went into all those decisions. So
Yeah. I mean, there are answers to a lot of that, like George Lucas was there and Irving Kershner was.
Okay.
However, I don't know if they were there for I don't know who was there for all of them, if they were all present for all of the scenes, and if not,
Right.
which scenes had but to be a fly on the wall, that would be,
yeah, it would be a great resource, certainly.
yeah. In the past, you said, who's going to write the next paradigm-shifting Star Wars score?
Okay.
Which, do you feel we've gotten that yet?
No, I think we need a movie. I think
Yeah.
we need, another movie to establish that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So.
You've also said, what is it like for new composers like Giacchino, John Powell, Goranson to play in the playground of Star Wars music? To have all these themes at their fingertips. What is it like to get the keys to the kingdom as a composer? That's also something I would like to know.
Yeah. Well, it is nice that we have more composers now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what are we up to? 6 or 7 new composers that have either scored a show or a film. So more variety is good.
I agree, because then it doesn't just have to be this person versus John Williams. Now it's like it's not just, a binary thing. There's like a lot of different flavors of not John Williams.
Right. And there's a lot of flavors of Star Wars now where we're getting more of that too, which is really good. So,
Yeah, very true. I'm curious if you're going to repeat anything for this last question. What is a score or soundtrack that you're fond of besides anything Star Wars?
Oh, I wish I remembered what I said before, but I'll tell you the one score that I have been listening to a lot. And so this past school year, I've been serving in the admin position, an interim position. So I haven't been in the classroom at all, which it's been great getting back into this mode and sort of prepping for this. Thank you for that. I love dipping my feet back into the teaching mode. But when I've been in the office, the score that I've listened to the most is the soundtrack to the film Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Have you seen this film?
No, but I want to see it. Is it good?
It's fantastic. I would highly recommend it. There are YouTube. It's based on a YouTube series.
I've seen
if you wanted
that.
Okay.
And it's super cute.
If that works for you, you will like the film. And the score is by the stage name of the artist is Disaster Piece. I forget his actual name. But he did the score for It Follows, a fantastic horror film from 5-6 years ago. He did that. He did Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from, was that just last year or that recently?
I think it was recent. Yeah.
Yeah. He did Under the Silver Lake, a few other scores as well. So he's a composer that I'm sort of keeping my ear on. And that the score for Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is fantastic. Really good. So,
That is cool. Disaster Piece. Peace spelled like peace on earth.
yes. All one word. I think you got to start doing video game music in terms of then pivoting into film scoring. So
His name is Rich Vreeland.
okay, there you go, Rich Wayland.
Disaster Piece.
All right.
But if I were to look up the soundtrack, it would be credited as Disaster Piece, right?
Disaster Piece.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
That is cool. Well, I think that's the first time that answer has been given.
Nice.
Yeah, neat.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to watch it now. I think it's a feature film.
Give it a shot.
Right?
Yeah, it's a feature film, and
Okay.
I
just don't know
it's
how
stop motion, so it's not that long.
Oh, it's
you know.
stop motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check it out.
Nice.
I think it was nominated for something for Oscars this year. I can't remember what, but maybe for Best Animated Film, or I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it got nominated for something. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. And then I forgot to just say the cues from this set of minutes were 8M3 Lando's Palace. The musical themes we hear are Cloud City 1, Lando's Palace. We hear the Star Wars main theme, A section, the Force theme, the Imperial March, and Yoda's theme, A section. And then in the soundtrack, this track can be found on Lando's Palace, and actually pretty much exactly the music that we hear in these minutes is all in that track on the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack. So before I let you go, Alex, where can people find you online, keep in touch, know when your projects are coming up?
Sure. Well, I still have a place at Twitter, if Twitter still exists, who knows. My handle is CELEXO, @Selexo, on Twitter. But really, I have a website, alexludwig.net, where you can find my list of all the Dies Irae films, links to all my videos as well. I have a YouTube channel with a lot of these supercuts compilations there as well. So alexludwig.net is probably the best place to catch up with what I'm doing. So.
Cool. Is your YouTube channel still Film Music Tropes?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah. And that's where you can find a supercut of like so many Dies Irae supercuts. There's like, you said 13 now?
They're up to 13. And I was thinking of making like a mega one, just like chronological from A to Z. I don't know. We'll see if I have time for that. But,
well,
settle
in. Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming back on Star Wars Music Minute. I always like talking to you.
It's always fun to come back and chat.
Awesome. Well, listeners, you know where to find me and this show. And the day that we were recording this, it's the Star Wars Music Minute 2-year anniversary today.
Congratulations.
So, yes, thank you. Thank you. John Williams' birthday as well. That was a coincidence, though.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about minutes 86 through 90. And with that, may the Force be with you. Talk to you next week on Star Wars Music Minute.